What's up, guys? It's Maverick 10, and did I throw you off a little bit? I'm sitting down. It's kind of weird for me too. Let's just get through it. Let's just see how it works, and we'll just get through this together. I'm usually standing. This time I'm sitting. Let's see how it works. Guys, my last video, I asked you guys to message me regarding your favorite video game franchises and explaining to me why they're your favorite franchises, and the responses were overwhelming. So overwhelming, in fact, that I have found that you guys are not only passionate about your games, but there are some franchises that you guys are extremely passionate about, and I love that. I'm not going to be able to feature every game in this video, so this is part one of your favorite video game franchises. Now, guys, I'm going to apologize in advance for maybe not being as funny or as comedic or as sarcastic or witty as I normally try to be in my videos, but this isn't about me. In my opinion, this is about you guys. So let's get started. This first franchise is undoubtedly one of the greatest franchises of all time. And in fact, it is YouTube user Irish2K10, one of his favorite franchises of all time. And that franchise is Final Fantasy. There's absolutely no way you can deny the impact that Final Fantasy has had on the gaming industry, on gamers, and on gaming as a whole. Huge impact. Irish2K10 said the first Final Fantasy game that he played was Final Fantasy IV, and he was automatically sucked right in. Now that, in and of itself, speaks volumes for a franchise. When you can play the fourth game in a franchise, or watch the fourth movie in a franchise, or read the fourth book in a franchise first, and you're still intrigued, not having to read, watched, or played the first three, that speaks volumes. He said 4 was his first one, but 8 was probably his favorite. Although he loved 7 and he loved 10, and one of the reasons he loved 8, 7, and 10, as well as the other games in the franchise, were because the story was so good and the character development was so good. Irish2K10 even went on to say that the PSP game, Final Fantasy Crisis Core, was excellent. And my subscribers know how I feel about set pieces and character development and good stories. And it's just stamped, done, marked that Final Fantasy does each and every one of those things almost to perfection. The set pieces in Final Fantasy games are epic, and the word epic unfortunately gets thrown around a lot these days when it comes to video games, but there's no denying that Final Fantasy set pieces and their stories are amazing. And unfortunately, amazing is another word that gets thrown around a lot these days. I have a lot of younger brothers and sisters, and everything's amazing. Everything's amazing. How was that hot dog? Oh, it was amazing. Really? The hot dog? What? All right, Did you read that book? Wasn't it? Oh, it was. I read the whole series. They were amazing. Really, all of them were. Okay, well, but it really is. Final Fantasy games are amazing to RPG fans, but whether you're an RPG fan or not, there's no denying what it's done for the industry. Irish2K10 even goes on to say that his favorite ending of any video game he's ever played was PSP Crisis Core. So, but think about it for a second, you guys. Think about it. Final Fantasy, there's 2 Final Fantasy games coming out this year, 13 and 14, and people are getting stoked for these games, as they should. 14, they're on their 14th game. That's not including the spin-offs. Their 14th game, okay? And people are getting crazy stoked. How many movies or movie franchises do you know could make that many movies and still get the hype at the 14th installment? There's not many. How many people do you think would really get excited about Saw 14 or Friday the 13th 14? I'm a huge horror movie buff, but 14, it's like, all right, let's bring it down a little bit. Let's just end it. But people are still getting stoked about Final Fantasy after 14 plus games. That just says a lot about the franchise and about how passionate the fans like Irish2K10 are about the franchise. So kudos to Final Fantasy. And if you are a Final Fantasy fan, you've got 2 great games to look forward to this year. So now the next franchise that I want to talk about is a favorite of YouTube users Bravo1, Big Boss 93, and Omega 619 Red, and that franchise is Metal Gear Solid. It's no coincidence I chose Final Fantasy and Metal Gear to do in the same video, because also, just like Final Fantasy, the amount of passion from Final Fantasy guys over on is the same as Metal Gear guys. Passion, and what Metal Gear has done for the gaming industry, just like Final Fantasy, has been epic, really, in itself. Because Metal Gear Solid, and Omega 619 Red says it perfectly. He says that Metal Gear Solid for PS1 did everything to near perfection. Think about it. The character development, the graphics, the story, everything that was innovative about that game. Which Metal Gear started a lot of stuff, you guys. Innovative. That's what I mean. They started a lot of stuff. And they didn't start, some things they didn't start, but they perfected them. But also with the gameplay and the score. A lot of gamers, we talk about the music, but it's not one of the first things. Omega Red Heat, that was one of the first things he talked about, was the score in the Metal Gear Solid franchise. And what a great score it has been. And the same thing with Final Fantasy. There's not as many, but Metal Gear Solid 4 came out generations ago, or Metal Gear Solid came out generations ago. Metal Gear Solid 4 came out this generation and was is easily one of the best games of this generation. And we're talking about a game that started on NES with Metal Gear. It's to still be able to make those games. Not only does that say a lot about the fan base, but that says a lot about how much people care about these characters and these stories, that you can still intrigue and compel people years and generations down the road. So, and Omega Red goes on to say that the score, but also every aspect of each game, really is perfection, and that's hard to argue with. Whether you're a Metal Gear fan or not, it really is hard to argue with the fact that Metal Gear has done a huge amount for the gaming industry. I'm a Metal Gear fan. Big Boss 93, Bravo 1, and Omega 619 Red are fans. But they, you know what? I didn't think about this. They all three said no Metal Gear movie. And can you argue with them? Now, if they came out with a Metal Gear movie, we'd be in the theaters day one with popcorn and watching the movie. But do we need it? I don't know. And looking at Hollywood's track record on what they've done to some video game franchises, they've made more bombs than they have good movies. When speaking of video game, film adaptations of video games. So they say we don't need a Metal Gear Solid movie. They're passionate about Metal Gear. I'm willing to just go along with them and say we don't need a Metal Gear movie. But if it came out, I'd go see it. So, guys, I appreciate the feedback. I want to thank Big Boss 93, Bravo 1, Irish 2K10, and Omega 619 Red. I hope I helped in this small 10-minute video. I hope I helped do your favorite franchise good, and I hope I helped them do, or I hope I did them justice. Pardon me, because they are your favorites. Guys, I'll be doing more videos like this. As promised, I will hit every franchise you guys send to me. So talking to you guys has been a blast. Reading some of your guys' messages makes me want to go play these old games again. Some of these games I haven't got to play because of the fact that they were on older generations and just for whatever reason didn't get to play them. Some of these games on last generation came out, I didn't get to play because I was in college and just broke, in college. Didn't have any money to buy games. In college you have to get food, you have to get books, you have to buy a hooker, and you have to pay someone to get rid of the body, and it's just a big process. I didn't have time to get a lot of games, but talking to you guys makes me want to go out and get some of these games and relive them, but also try out some games I missed. So you guys have been great. I look forward to doing more videos and touching on each one of your guys' favorite franchises. I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm Maverick 10, and I'm out of breath.